Melissa delivers the line with the rehearsed casualness of someone who has performed this particular script many times before. She stands in our bedroom doorway, checking her reflection in the full-length mirror one final time. The black dress hugs curves I haven't been invited to appreciate in months, and her makeup carries the careful precision of someone preparing for an audience that matters. "I won't," I reply, not looking up from the carburetor I'm rebuilding at the kitchen table. The Ford's engine parts spread across newspaper like a mechanical autopsy, each component tagged and organized with the methodical patience that 15 years of running Ashford Auto Repair has taught me. She pauses, perhaps expecting more resistance or questions about her itinerary. When none come, her heels click across the hardwood floor toward the front door. The sound echoes through our house like a countdown timer, each step marking another second closer to whatever performance she's prepared for tonight. "Chloe's at Jessica's house, and Max is upstairs playing video games," she calls back, her voice carrying the forced brightness of someone checking items off a mental list. "There's leftover pizza in the fridge if you get hungry." The front door closes with the soft finality of someone who doesn't want to wake sleeping suspicions. Through the kitchen window, I watch her BMW reverse out of our driveway, taillights disappearing around the corner of Maple Street like red periods ending a sentence I've been reading for months. I set down my wrench and walk to the living room window. The neighborhood settles into its Friday evening rhythm. Porch lights illuminate driveways where other husbands wash cars or walk dogs, their wives visible through kitchen windows preparing dinner or helping children with homework. Normal couples doing normal things in normal marriages that haven't been hollowed out from the inside like termite-damaged wood. My reflection stares back from the darkened glass, 43 years old with grease under my fingernails and suspicions growing like weeds in untended soil. Jonathan Ashford, mechanic and fool, married to a woman whose girls' nights have become as regular as oil changes and twice as expensive. The house feels different when she's gone. Not peaceful exactly, but honest. The walls don't have to pretend everything's fine. The furniture doesn't have to maintain the careful arrangement of a marriage that looks good from the outside. Even the air seems to relax, releasing tension it's been holding like a held breath. I climb the stairs to check on Max. At 15, my son has inherited my dark hair and my tendency to disappear into projects when the world gets complicated. Tonight's project involves something with explosions and military vehicles on his computer screen. "Mom left for her girls' night," I tell him, leaning against his doorframe. He glances up, his expression carrying the careful neutrality teenagers use when navigating parental landmines. "Yeah, she told me. Said she'd be late." "How late is late these days?" Max shrugs, returning his attention to the screen where digital soldiers advance across a battlefield that looks more realistic than my marriage feels. "She usually gets home around 2 or 3, sometimes later. 2 or 3 in the morning, sometimes later." The information settles in my chest like a stone dropped into still water, sending ripples through assumptions I've been trying not to examine too closely. "You okay, Dad?" The question catches me off guard. When did my 15-year-old son start monitoring my emotional state? When did I become transparent enough for a teenager to read my concerns through whatever expression I'm wearing? "Just tired," I lie, because the truth would require explanations I'm not ready to give. "Don't stay up too late." Back downstairs, I return to the carburetor, but my hands move through the familiar motions, while my mind processes information I've been collecting without admitting I was collecting it. Girls' nights that started 6 months ago. New clothes purchased for occasions I don't attend. Phone conversations that end abruptly when I enter the room. Credit card statements showing charges at restaurants I've never been to and bars I've never heard of. The evidence has been accumulating like snow, each individual flake insignificant until the weight becomes impossible to ignore. Tonight feels different, though. Tonight carries the electric tension of a storm system moving in, the kind of atmospheric pressure that makes dogs hide under beds and makes smart people secure anything they don't want to lose. I set down my tools and walked to our home office, a converted bedroom where Melissa handles the books for her public relations firm, and I manage the paperwork for the auto shop. Her laptop sits closed on the desk, password protected and off limits according to the unspoken rules of our marriage. But rules change when trust erodes, and trust has been eroding for months, like topsoil in heavy rain. Her password hasn't changed since she set it up 3 years ago. Chloe, 2006, our daughter's name and birth year. The screen illuminates, revealing a desktop organized with the same precision she applies to her appearance. Folders labeled by client names, a calendar color-coded by priority, email icons showing 17 unread messages. I shouldn't be doing this. The rational part of my brain, the part that still believes in marriage counseling and honest conversations, argues for closing the laptop and pretending I never opened it. But the mechanic in me, the part that diagnoses problems by following symptoms to their source, clicks on her email program. The messages load with the efficiency of modern technology revealing ancient betrayals. Work correspondence, promotional emails, scheduling confirmations for appointments I know nothing about. And there, nestled between a client proposal and a dentist reminder, an email from david.weston.realestate@gmail.com with the subject line, "Tonight." The message contains no words, just an address. The Meridian Grand Hotel, 1247 Harbor Street. The Meridian Grand. I know the place, a restored Victorian building downtown that caters to business travelers and couples celebrating anniversaries they want to remember. It's not the kind of establishment where girlfriends meet for casual drinks and conversation about their children's soccer schedules. I close the laptop and return to the kitchen, but the carburetor parts seem to mock me now, their mechanical simplicity a stark contrast to the complex machinery of deception I'm apparently married to. Engines make sense. You can diagnose their problems, fix what's broken, replace what's worn out. Marriages apparently require different tools. The clock on the microwave shows 8:47 p.m. If Melissa left at 8:15, she's had enough time to drive downtown and find parking. Enough time to enter the hotel bar and order a drink. Enough time to check her reflection one more time before David Weston arrives for whatever appointment requires hotel accommodations and secrecy. I should stay home. I should respect her privacy and trust her explanations and believe that girls' nights sometimes require upscale hotel bars and mysterious email confirmations. I should finish rebuilding the carburetor and watch television and go to bed at a reasonable hour like the husband she apparently thinks I am. Instead, I grab my keys and head for the garage. My pickup truck starts with the reliable rumble of an engine I've maintained myself, every component cleaned and adjusted and trusted to perform when needed. Unlike marriages, mechanical relationships respond predictably to proper care and attention. You get out what you put in, and problems announce themselves with symptoms you can diagnose if you're willing to look. The drive downtown takes 12 minutes through streets that look different at night, familiar landmarks transformed by shadows and streetlights into something slightly foreign. The Meridian Grand sits on Harbor Street like a wedding cake, its Victorian architecture restored to the kind of elegance that charges premium prices for premium discretion. I park across the street in the lot behind Murphy's Tavern, a blue-collar bar where mechanics and construction workers drink beer that doesn't require wine knowledge to appreciate. From here, I have a clear view of the hotel's entrance and the valet stand where expensive cars deliver expensive people for expensive evenings. At 9:23, Melissa's BMW pulls up to the valet stand. She emerges from the driver's seat with the fluid grace of someone comfortable being watched, her black dress catching streetlight like silk catches flame. The valet accepts her keys with the professional courtesy reserved for guests whose tips reflect their room rates. She walks toward the hotel entrance with the confident stride of someone who belongs in places like this, someone whose life includes establishments I've never been invited to experience. I should leave now. I should drive home and pretend I never saw her enter a hotel for a girls' night that apparently requires valet parking and architectural elegance. I should trust that whatever she's doing, whoever she's meeting, the explanation will be innocent enough to preserve what's left of our marriage. Instead, I cross Harbor Street and follow her inside. The Meridian Grand's lobby embraces visitors with the warm sophistication of old money and new renovations. Crystal chandeliers cast gentle light across marble floors, and leather furniture arranged in conversation clusters suggests the kind of intimate discussions that require privacy and premium cocktails. The hotel bar occupies the building's original parlor, its mahogany walls and stained glass windows creating an atmosphere that whispers rather than shouts. Melissa sits at a corner table, her back to the entrance, her attention focused on something beyond my line of sight. She's ordered wine, something red that catches the ambient lighting like liquid garnets. I choose a seat at the bar where the bartender's broad shoulders block most sight lines, while still allowing me to monitor her table through the mirror behind the bottles. The bartender, a man whose arms suggest previous careers involving physical labor, nods toward my reflection. "What can I get you?" "Beer, whatever you have on tap." He draws a pint of something local and sets it on the bar with the efficient courtesy of someone who's served drinks to men with problems before. The beer tastes like hops and regret, bitter enough to match my mood. At 9:41, David Weston arrives. I recognize him from the real estate signs scattered throughout our neighborhood, his professionally photographed smile promising expertise in helping families find their dream homes. In person, he carries himself with the confident bearing of someone whose commission checks reflect other people's most important decisions. Tall, well-dressed, handsome in the way that sells houses and apparently attracts other men's wives. He approaches Melissa's table with the familiarity of someone who's made this walk before. She rises to greet him, and their embrace lasts several seconds longer than friendship requires. When they separate, his hand remains on her lower back, a gesture of possession that makes my fingers tighten around the beer glass. They sit across from each other, but their conversation carries the intimate intensity of people who share secrets. She leans forward when he speaks, her laughter musical enough to draw glances from other patrons. He touches her hand when making points, and she doesn't pull away. I remove my phone from my pocket and activate the video recording function. The device's camera captures their interaction with digital precision, documenting gestures and expressions that would be difficult to explain to a marriage counselor or a divorce attorney. Their body language tells a story that doesn't include friendship or business relationships or any of the innocent explanations that might preserve what's left of our marriage. At 10:17, they finish their drinks and stand together. David places his hand on Melissa's back again, guiding her toward the hotel's front desk. The clerk, a young woman whose professional smile suggests experience with guests whose relationships might be complicated, processes their request with discreet efficiency. Key cards appear, room numbers exchanged, directions provided to elevators that will carry them beyond my observation. I follow at a distance that maintains plausible deniability while preserving sight lines. They enter the elevator together, David's arm around her waist now, her head tilted toward his shoulder, in a pose of intimacy that 15 years of marriage taught me to recognize. The elevator doors close with the finality of a curtain falling on a performance I was never meant to witness. The floor indicator above the elevator shows their ascent: second floor, third floor, fourth floor. It stops at the fourth floor, and the light remains steady while my marriage dissolves 4 stories above my head. I wait in the lobby for 17 minutes, long enough to ensure they're not returning for forgotten items or second thoughts. Long enough to accept that whatever conversation they're having, whatever activities they're engaging in, the duration suggests commitment to an evening that extends well beyond casual encounters. The drive home passes through the same streets, but the landscape looks different now. the familiar landmarks of my daily routine, the coffee shop where I buy morning coffee, the intersection where I turn toward the auto shop, the grocery store where Melissa and I shop for family dinners. All seem to exist in a different universe, one where husbands trust wives and marriages mean what they're supposed to mean. Our house sits dark except for Max's bedroom window, where blue light from his computer screen flickers against the glass like a digital campfire. I park in the garage and sit in the truck for several minutes, listening to the engine cool and the metal contract with tiny pinging sounds that remind me of a clock counting down to something I'm not ready to face. Inside, the house maintains its honest silence. No pretense, no performance, no careful arrangement of emotions designed to preserve appearances, just empty rooms and furniture that doesn't have to pretend everything's fine. I climb the stairs and check on Max again. He's fallen asleep at his desk, his head pillowed on his arms, the computer screen showing a paused game where digital soldiers wait for commands that won't come until morning. I cover him with a blanket and turn off the monitor, then stand in his doorway for a moment, watching him sleep with the peaceful expression of someone whose world still makes sense. In our bedroom, Melissa's side of the bed remains undisturbed, the decorative pillows arranged with the precision of someone who doesn't expect to return before morning. Her jewelry box sits open on the dresser, empty of the earrings and necklace she wore tonight, accessories chosen for an audience that doesn't include her husband. I don't undress or attempt sleep. Instead, I return to the kitchen and resume working on the carburetor, my hands moving through familiar motions while my mind processes information I can no longer ignore. The engine parts respond to attention and care, their mechanical relationships governed by physics and engineering principles that don't change based on emotion or deception. At 2:47 a.m., headlights sweep across the kitchen window. Melissa's BMW pulls into the driveway with the careful precision of someone navigating familiar territory in an altered state. Not drunk exactly, but different. Changed. The car door closes with the soft consideration of someone trying not to wake a household that might ask questions about extended girls' nights and hotel accommodations. Her key turns in the front door lock, and her heels click across the hardwood floor with less confidence than they carried earlier. She appears in the kitchen doorway, her black dress slightly wrinkled, her makeup carefully repaired but not quite perfect, her hair carrying the disheveled elegance of someone who's been horizontal recently. "You're still up," she says, her voice carrying the artificial brightness of someone performing normalcy. "Couldn't sleep," I reply, not looking up from the carburetor. "How was girls' night?" She moves to the refrigerator and removes a bottle of water, buying time to construct whatever narrative she's prepared for this moment. "Fine. We went to that new wine bar downtown. Janet had too much to drink, so we stayed later to make sure she got home safely." Janet. Her best friend since college, married to an accountant named Robert who coaches Little League Baseball and believes his wife spends Friday evenings discussing book club selections and child-rearing strategies with other suburban mothers. "The new wine bar," I repeat, my hands continuing their work on the engine parts. "What's it called?" A pause. Brief, but long enough to suggest the question requires more consideration than it should. "Vintages, on Harbor Street." Harbor Street, where the Meridian Grand Hotel sits like a Victorian monument to discretion and adultery, its restored elegance providing cover for activities that require privacy and premium accommodations. "Sounds nice," I say. "Maybe we should go there sometime." "Maybe," she agrees, but her tone suggests the possibility ranks somewhere between unlikely and never. I'm going to shower and go to bed. Try not to stay up too much longer. She disappears upstairs, and soon the sound of running water confirms her location and activities. I imagine her standing under the hot spray, washing away evidence of an evening that requires careful cleaning, removing traces of cologne that doesn't belong to her husband, and replacing them with soap that smells like innocence. The carburetor parts spread across the newspaper look different now, their mechanical simplicity a stark contrast to the complex machinery of deception that apparently governs my marriage. But engines can be rebuilt. Worn parts can be replaced. What's broken can be fixed if you have the right tools and the patience to do the work properly. I gather the components and return them to their labeled containers, then fold the newspaper and throw it in the trash. Tomorrow, I'll finish the rebuild and install the carburetor in Mrs. Patterson's Ford, and her engine will run like new because mechanical problems respond to proper diagnosis and repair. Other problems require different solutions. Saturday morning arrives with the artificial cheerfulness of a family pretending everything's normal. Melissa emerges from our bedroom wearing yoga clothes and the kind of energetic smile that suggests she's overcompensating for something. She moves through the kitchen with deliberate purpose, preparing coffee and toast with the focused attention of someone performing routine activities while managing more complex thoughts. "Good morning," she says, kissing my cheek with lips that taste like mint toothpaste and careful preparation. "Sleep well?" "Eventually," I reply, which isn't entirely a lie. I did sleep, sometime after 4 a.m., when exhaustion finally overcame the mental inventory of everything I'd witnessed at the Meridian Grand. Chloe appears at the kitchen table wearing the sullen expression 17-year-old girls use to communicate their dissatisfaction with the world in general and their families in particular. At 17, she's inherited her mother's bone structure and her mother's talent for making other people feel like they're failing to meet expectations. "Jessica's mom is taking us shopping at the mall," she announces, not looking up from her phone. "I need money." Melissa reaches for her purse, removing 2 $20 bills with the casual generosity of someone whose guilt requires financial expression. "Have fun, honey. Be back by 6 for dinner." "Can't. We're going to a movie after shopping. I'll be home by 10. 10:30, Melissa negotiates, and Chloe nods agreement while texting someone whose response makes her smile in a way that suggests boys and complications I'm not ready to consider. Max joins us wearing yesterday's clothes and the disheveled appearance of someone who fell asleep at his computer again. At 15, he's caught between childhood and whatever comes next. Still young enough to want his parents' approval, but old enough to recognize when something's wrong with the family dynamic. "Dad, can you help me with my science project today?" he asks, pouring cereal into a bowl with the careful concentration of someone navigating family tensions. "It's due Monday." "What's the project?" "We have to build something that demonstrates mechanical advantage, like pulleys or levers or gear ratios. Mechanical advantage, the concept that simple machines can multiply force and make difficult work easier. If only marriage problems could be solved with the same principles. "Sure," I tell him. "We can work on it in the garage after I finish Mrs. Patterson's carburetor." Melissa glances up from her coffee, her expression carrying the forced brightness of someone monitoring conversations for hidden meanings. "That sounds like a fun project. Very educational." Educational. The word hangs in the air like a challenge, suggesting that some lessons are more valuable than others, and some education happens outside classrooms and science projects. After Chloe leaves for her shopping expedition and Max disappears upstairs to shower, Melissa and I find ourselves alone in the kitchen with the kind of silence that married couples use to avoid discussing what they're both thinking about. "I might run some errands today," she says, refilling her coffee cup with the careful attention of someone buying time to construct explanations. "The dry cleaner, grocery store, maybe get my nails done." Saturday errands. The kind of routine activities that provide cover for other appointments, other destinations, other people who might require attention on weekend afternoons. "What time will you be back?" "Not sure. Depends on how busy everything is. I'll call if I'm going to be late for dinner." She moves toward the stairs, then pauses as if remembering something important. "Oh, Janet might stop by later. She wants to borrow that cookbook I mentioned." Janet. The same Janet who allegedly had too much to drink at the fictional wine bar last night, requiring extended supervision and delayed departures. The Janet whose marriage to Robert the accountant provides convenient cover for activities that require alibis and coordination. I'll tell her you're running errands if she shows up while you're gone. Thanks, Melissa says, but her smile carries the strained quality of someone whose stories require more maintenance than she anticipated. After she leaves, I spend an hour installing the rebuilt carburetor in Mrs. Patterson's Ford. The engine responds to proper attention, purring with the satisfied sound of machinery operating as designed. Mrs. Patterson will drive home with reliable transportation because mechanical problems yield to correct diagnosis and appropriate repair. Other problems require different approaches. I find Max in his bedroom, surrounded by textbooks and notebook paper covered with sketches of pulleys and lever systems. His science project proposal involves building a compound pulley system that can lift heavy objects with minimal applied force. Good choice, I tell him. Pulleys are elegant solutions. They change the direction of force and provide mechanical advantage without requiring fuel or electricity. We spend the next 2 hours in the garage, constructing a pulley system from materials I have on hand: rope, metal wheels from old equipment, a wooden frame built from scrap lumber. Max learns about load distribution and mechanical advantage while I think about other kinds of leverage and how force can be applied in unexpected directions to achieve desired results. Dad, Max says while testing our completed project, is everything okay with you and Mom? The question catches me off guard, though I should have expected it. 15-year-olds notice things, especially when their parents' carefully maintained facade starts showing cracks. Why do you ask? He shrugs, but his expression carries the careful neutrality of someone who's been thinking about this question for a while. You guys seem different lately. Like you're both pretending everything's fine, but it doesn't feel fine. Smart kid. Too smart, maybe, for his own comfort. I want to tell him everything's going to be okay, that marriages go through rough patches and parents sometimes have problems that don't affect their children. But lies require energy I don't have, and Max deserves better than false reassurance. Things are complicated right now, I tell him. But whatever happens between your mother and me, it doesn't change how we feel about you and Chloe. He nods, accepting the non-answer with the resignation of someone who's learned that adult problems don't always have simple explanations. We finish testing the pulley system, which works exactly as physics predicts it should. Applied force multiplied by mechanical advantage equals the ability to lift objects that would otherwise be too heavy to move. At 3:30, Janet's Honda Civic pulls into our driveway. Janet Morrison, Melissa's best friend since their college sorority days, married to Robert the accountant for 12 years, mother of 2 children who attend the same school as Max and Chloe. Janet, with her carefully highlighted hair and her expensive handbags, and her talent for organizing social events that somehow never include husbands. I answer the front door before she can ring the bell. Janet stands on our porch wearing the kind of casual designer clothes that cost more than most people spend on work attire, her smile carrying the bright intensity of someone who's prepared for this conversation. Hi, Jonathan. Is Melissa home? She's running errands. Said you might stop by for a cookbook. Janet's smile flickers just for a moment, like a light bulb with a loose connection. Oh, right. The cookbook. Actually, I can get it another time. When will she be back? She didn't say. You could try calling her. I did. It went straight to voicemail. Interesting. Melissa's phone going straight to voicemail on a Saturday afternoon when she's supposedly running routine errands. The kind of detail that suggests activities requiring uninterrupted attention. Would you like to come in and wait? I ask, because sometimes the best way to gather information is to create opportunities for people to reveal more than they intend. Janet hesitates, glancing toward her car as if considering escape routes. I can't stay long. Robert's expecting me home soon. She follows me into the living room, perching on the edge of the sofa with the posture of someone ready to leave quickly if necessary. Her eyes scan the room, taking inventory of family photos and furniture arrangements as if looking for changes that might indicate problems. "How was girls' night last night?" I ask, settling into my recliner with the casual interest of someone making conversation. Another flicker in her smile, gone so quickly I might have imagined it. "It was fun. We went to that new wine bar downtown. Vintages." Vintages. The same fictional establishment Melissa mentioned, their stories aligned with the precision of people who've rehearsed their alibis. But rehearsed stories sometimes reveal themselves through excessive consistency, like witnesses who've coordinated their testimony too carefully. "Melissa said you had a little too much to drink." Janet's laugh carries a forced quality, like someone performing amusement rather than feeling it. "You know how it is with wine bars. They pour generous glasses, and before you know it, you've had more than you planned." "What kind of wine did you have?" The question hangs in the air for several seconds longer than it should. Janet's expression suggests someone searching through available information for details that should be readily accessible if the experience actually occurred. "Red wine," she says finally. "Something Italian, I think. The server recommended it." Red wine. Something Italian. The kind of vague response that suggests limited familiarity with the subject matter, like someone describing a restaurant they've never been to based on general knowledge about restaurants in general. "Sounds nice. Maybe Melissa and I should check it out sometime." "Oh, you should," Janet agrees with enthusiasm that feels manufactured. "It's very atmospheric, romantic even. Perfect for couples." Romantic. An interesting word choice for describing an establishment where wives allegedly meet female friends for casual conversation. The kind of detail that reveals more about the speaker's actual experiences than their fictional narratives. My phone buzzes with a text message. Janet's eyes dart toward the device, and her expression carries the alert tension of someone monitoring communications that might affect her situation. The message is from an unknown number. "Your wife is at the Meridian Grand Hotel, room 412. Thought you should know." I read the message twice, my expression neutral, while Janet watches my face for reactions. Anonymous tips usually come from people with their own agendas, but this one provides specific information that can be verified. "Everything okay?" Janet asks, her voice carrying forced casualness. "Just work stuff," I lie, pocketing the phone. "Mrs. Patterson's car is running rough again." Janet nods, but her relief seems disproportionate to the explanation, like someone who was worried about a different kind of message entirely. "I should probably go," she says, standing with the quick movements of someone eager to escape an uncomfortable situation. "Tell Melissa I stopped by, about the cookbook." After she leaves, I sit in the living room thinking about anonymous text messages and coordinated alibis and the way guilty people reveal themselves through excessive preparation. Someone wanted me to know where my wife is spending her Saturday afternoon. Someone with access to information about hotel room numbers and the motivation to share that information with betrayed husbands. The question is whether the anonymous tipster is trying to help me or hurt someone else. I walk upstairs to check on Max, who's in his room writing up the science project report with the methodical attention of someone who understands that good documentation is essential for proving your work. His pulley system sits on his desk, a functional demonstration of how mechanical advantage can be used to accomplish tasks that would otherwise be impossible. "How's the report coming?" "Almost done," he says, not looking up from his notebook. "Thanks for helping with the construction. I think Mrs. Rodriguez will be impressed." Mrs. Rodriguez, his science teacher, who emphasizes the importance of understanding principles before attempting practical applications. Theory before practice. Knowledge before action. The kind of methodical approach that prevents mistakes and ensures successful outcomes. I return to the kitchen and open Melissa's laptop again. Her password still works, and her email program loads with the same efficiency as before. The message from David Weston remains in her inbox, along with several new messages that arrived since last night. One from David, sent at 11:47 a.m. Looking forward to this afternoon. Same place, same time. Same place, same time. The Meridian Grand Hotel, where anonymous tipsters monitor room assignments and send text messages to husbands who are apparently the last people to know about their wives' afternoon appointments. Another message, sent at 1:23 p.m. from someone named Patricia Sinclair. Preliminary consultation scheduled for Monday, 2 p.m. Please bring financial documents as discussed. Patricia Sinclair. The name sounds familiar, though I can't immediately place it. I open a web browser and search for Patricia Sinclair in our city. The results show a law firm specializing in family law and divorce proceedings. Patricia Sinclair, attorney at law, with offices downtown and a professional photograph showing a woman in her 50s with the confident expression of someone who's handled complicated divorces before. Melissa is consulting with a divorce attorney. The realization settles in my chest like cold water, washing away whatever remaining hope I might have harbored about innocent explanations and marriage counseling and working through our problems together. She's not just having an affair. She's planning to end our marriage, and she's taking steps to ensure the outcome favors her interests. The girls' nights, the hotel meetings, the coordinated alibis with Janet, all of it designed to provide cover while she prepares for legal proceedings I know nothing about. I close the laptop and walk to our bedroom, where Melissa's jewelry box sits open on the dresser. Inside, nestled among earrings and necklaces I've given her for birthdays and anniversaries, I find a small digital recording device, the kind used for business meetings and interviews, compact enough to hide in a purse or pocket. The device shows 4 hours and 17 minutes of recorded content. I press play, and Melissa's voice emerges from the tiny speaker with crystal clarity. He's becoming suspicious. Asked too many questions about last night. A man's voice responds, unfamiliar but confident. What kind of questions? About the wine bar, where we went, what we drank. I think he might have followed me. Did you see him? No, but Jonathan's not stupid. He fixes engines for a living. He knows how to diagnose problems. A pause, then the man's voice again. Maybe it's time to accelerate our timeline. Patricia says we need more documentation, evidence of his drinking, his temper, anything that makes him look unstable. What about the business? The auto shop? Community property, but if we can prove he's been hiding assets or mismanaging the books, I might be able to claim a larger share. The recording continues for another 3 hours, detailing plans to destroy my reputation, seize my business, and ensure that divorce proceedings leave me with as little as possible. They discuss manipulating our children's loyalties, hiding assets in accounts I don't know about, and creating evidence of behavior that never occurred. I turn off the recording device and return it to the jewelry box, my hands steady despite the rage building in my chest like steam in a boiler. Melissa isn't just cheating on me. She's orchestrating my destruction with the methodical precision of someone who's been planning this campaign for months. But she made one crucial mistake. She underestimated the man she married, the mechanic who knows how to diagnose problems and fix what's broken. She assumed I would remain passive while she dismantled our marriage and destroyed my life. She assumed wrong. I walk to the garage and open the toolbox where I keep my most valuable instruments, the precision tools required for delicate work on expensive engines. Among them, I find what I'm looking for, a small digital camera with video recording capability, designed for documenting engine problems that require visual evidence for insurance claims. The camera is small enough to hide in a shirt pocket, with battery life sufficient for extended surveillance operations. I test the recording function, adjusting settings for optimal performance in low-light conditions. Then I get in my truck and drive toward downtown, toward the Meridian Grand Hotel, toward whatever evidence I need to document the destruction of my marriage and the beginning of my counterattack. Room 412. Anonymous tipsters providing specific information. A wife who thinks she's smarter than the man she married. Time to prove her wrong. The Meridian Grand Hotel's parking garage provides excellent sight lines to the fourth-floor windows while maintaining the anonymity necessary for surveillance operations. I position my truck between a concrete pillar and a luxury sedan, the angle offering clear views of room 412 while keeping my vehicle hidden from casual observation. At 4:17 p.m., two figures appear at the window. The digital camera captures their silhouettes with high-definition clarity, the afternoon sunlight backlighting their embrace in a way that leaves no doubt about their relationship or activities. Melissa's profile is unmistakable, her hair catching light like spun gold, while David Weston's hands explore territory that belongs to another man's marriage. I record 17 minutes of footage before they move away from the window, their afternoon entertainment apparently requiring privacy that even fourth-floor hotel rooms can't provide. The camera's timestamp preserves every second, creating a digital record that divorce attorneys will find compelling and judges will consider definitive. My phone buzzes with another anonymous text. They usually leave separately. Her first, then him after 20 minutes. Thought you should know. Someone is definitely monitoring their activities with the attention to detail that suggests personal investment in the outcome. Someone who wants their affair documented and exposed. Someone with access to information about their routines and patterns. At 5:43 p.m., Melissa emerges from the hotel's main entrance. She walks toward the valet stand with the satisfied stride of someone whose afternoon exceeded expectations, her black hair perfectly arranged despite activities that should have left it disheveled. The valet retrieves her BMW with professional efficiency, accepting a tip that suggests her mood remains elevated. I follow her BMW through downtown traffic, maintaining the careful distance that prevents detection while preserving visual contact. She drives toward our neighborhood with the casual confidence of someone whose alibi is already prepared, her route taking her past the dry cleaner and grocery store she mentioned during breakfast. She stops at both locations, emerging from each with shopping bags that provide physical evidence of her supposed errands. The dry cleaner provides clothes she dropped off last week. The grocery store provides ingredients for tonight's dinner and a receipt time-stamped to support her narrative about afternoon activities. Clever. Methodical. The kind of detailed preparation that suggests experience with deception and an understanding of how alibis require supporting evidence. But surveillance cameras at both locations will show the times of her actual visits, creating gaps in her timeline that correspond exactly to her hotel appointment. At 6:23 p.m., she pulls into our driveway. I arrive 3 minutes later, having taken a longer route that provides plausible explanation for my own afternoon absence. Melissa greets me in the kitchen with a kiss that tastes like guilt disguised as affection, her smile carrying the bright intensity of someone overcompensating for recent activities. "How was your afternoon?" she asks, unpacking groceries with deliberate normalcy. "Productive. Helped Max with his science project, then ran some errands of my own." "What kind of errands?" The question carries casual interest that doesn't quite conceal deeper concern, like someone monitoring information that might affect carefully constructed narratives. "Hardware store, bank, stopped by the shop to check on Mrs. Patterson's Ford." All true, though incomplete. The hardware store provided batteries for the digital camera. The bank provided account statements I'll need for divorce proceedings. The auto shop provided a quiet place to review recorded footage and plan my next moves. "Janet stopped by looking for you," I add, watching her expression for reactions. A brief pause, gone so quickly someone less observant might miss it. "Oh? What did she want?" "Something about a cookbook. Said she'd call you later." Melissa nods, returning her attention to dinner preparations with the focused concentration of someone processing information and adjusting plans accordingly. "I'll give her a call after dinner." Chloe arrives home at exactly 10:30. Her shopping expedition apparently successful based on the number of bags she carries and the satisfied expression she wears. She shows Melissa her purchases with the enthusiasm 17-year-old girls reserve for new clothes and accessories, their conversation filled with brands and styles and social dynamics I don't understand. Max emerges from his room carrying his completed science project report, 12 pages of careful documentation explaining the principles of mechanical advantage and the construction details of his pulley system. His handwriting is neat, his diagrams precise, his conclusions supported by mathematical calculations that prove his understanding of the underlying concepts. Looks good, I tell him, reviewing his work with the pride of a father whose son approaches problems with methodical intelligence. Mrs. Rodriguez will be impressed. Thanks for helping with the construction. I couldn't have built it without your tools and expertise. Expertise. The word carries weight beyond its simple meaning, suggesting recognition that some problems require specialized knowledge and the right tools applied with proper technique. Mechanical problems, relationship problems, legal problems, all yield to correct diagnosis and appropriate intervention. We eat dinner as a family, maintaining the careful choreography of people performing normalcy while managing more complex realities. Melissa describes her afternoon errands with the detailed precision of someone whose story requires careful maintenance. Chloe discusses her shopping expedition and movie plans with friends whose names I don't recognize. Max explains his science project with the enthusiasm of someone proud of his work. I listen and respond appropriately while thinking about hotel room surveillance and divorce attorney consultations and anonymous text messages from people who monitor other people's affairs with professional attention to detail. After dinner, I help Max carry his science project to his bedroom, while Melissa and Chloe clean the kitchen with the efficient teamwork of people who've performed this routine countless times. The sounds of their conversation drift upstairs, mother and daughter bonding over shared interests and mutual understanding. "Dad," Max says while arranging his project materials for Monday's presentation, "can I ask you something?" "Sure." "If you knew someone was lying to you about something important, would you confront them directly or try to get more information first?" The question catches me off guard, though I should have expected it. Max notices things, processes information, draws conclusions based on evidence and observation. Like his father, he approaches problems with methodical intelligence. "Depends on the situation," I tell him. "Sometimes direct confrontation is the best approach. Sometimes you need more information before you act. What if confronting them might make things worse? Then you gather evidence first. Make sure you understand the full scope of the problem before you decide how to solve it." He nods, accepting the advice with the serious expression of someone who's been thinking about complex problems that don't have simple solutions. That makes sense. "Thanks, Dad." After Max goes to bed, I find Melissa in our bedroom, preparing for sleep with the careful routine of someone whose day required significant emotional management. She removes her jewelry with deliberate attention, each piece returned to its designated place in the jewelry box where she keeps her recording device hidden among anniversary gifts and birthday presents. "Busy day," she says, catching my reflection in the dresser mirror. "Very busy. Yours too, apparently." She turns to face me, her expression carrying the alert attention of someone monitoring conversations for hidden meanings. "What do you mean?" "Just that you seem to have a lot of errands to run. Dry cleaner, grocery store, getting your nails done." I glance at her hands, which show no evidence of recent manicure work. Her nail polish is the same shade she wore yesterday, slightly chipped on her ring finger where her wedding ring should be, but isn't. "Actually, the nail salon was too busy," she says, following my gaze. "I rescheduled for next week." Another adjustment to her narrative, made in real time to accommodate observations she didn't anticipate. Like someone improvising dialogue in a play whose script keeps changing based on audience reactions. "That's too bad. Your nails look fine to me, though." "Thanks," she says, but her smile carries the strained quality of someone whose performance requires more energy than she expected. I shower and prepare for bed while thinking about evidence and documentation and the difference between what people say and what they actually do. Melissa's afternoon timeline includes gaps that correspond to hotel appointments and activities that require privacy. Her explanations include details that don't match observable evidence. But successful prosecution requires more than circumstantial evidence and inconsistent alibis. It requires documentation that establishes patterns of behavior and proves intent to deceive. At 11:47 p.m., after Melissa falls asleep, I retrieve the digital camera from my dresser drawer and review the afternoon's footage. The hotel window surveillance provides clear evidence of intimate contact between my wife and David Weston, their silhouettes captured in high-definition detail that leaves no doubt about their relationship. But video evidence of adultery, while emotionally devastating, may not be sufficient for the kind of comprehensive victory I'm planning. Divorce proceedings in our state follow no-fault guidelines that limit the impact of infidelity on asset distribution and custody arrangements. I need more than proof of her affair. I need evidence of her conspiracy to destroy my reputation and steal my business. I need documentation of her plans to manipulate our children and hide assets and create false evidence of behavior that never occurred. I need access to her communications with David Weston and Patricia Sinclair and whoever else is helping her orchestrate my destruction. I return the camera to its hiding place and walk quietly downstairs to the kitchen, where Melissa's laptop sits closed on the counter. Her password still works, and her email program loads with the familiar efficiency of modern technology, revealing ancient betrayals. New messages have arrived since this afternoon. One from Patricia Sinclair, sent at 9:34 p.m. Documentation package ready for review. Monday appointment confirmed for 2 p.m. Another from David Weston, sent at 10:15 p.m. Enjoyed this afternoon. Same time next Saturday. And a third message from an address I don't recognize, truthteller2024@protonmail.com, sent at 11:23 p.m. Your husband knows more than you think. Suggest accelerating timeline, Truthteller 2024. The anonymous tipster who's been monitoring their activities and sending me information about hotel room numbers and departure schedules. Someone with access to their communications and the motivation to expose their conspiracy. Someone who wants their affair documented and their plans revealed. Someone who might be willing to provide additional assistance to a husband whose marriage is being systematically destroyed by people who underestimate his intelligence and resourcefulness. I compose a reply to Truthteller 2024. Interested in meeting to discuss mutual concerns, can provide compensation for information. The response arrives within minutes. Tomorrow, Murphy's Tavern, 2 p.m., come alone, ask for Sally. Sally. A name that suggests my anonymous benefactor is female, someone with personal knowledge of Melissa's activities and David Weston's involvement. Someone with reasons to want their conspiracy exposed and their plans disrupted. Someone who might have her own agenda for helping me document the destruction of my marriage and plan my counterattack. I close the laptop and return to bed, where Melissa sleeps with the peaceful expression of someone whose conscience doesn't interfere with rest. Tomorrow I'll meet with my anonymous informant and learn more about the conspiracy against me. Tomorrow I'll begin gathering the evidence I need to turn their own weapons against them. Tomorrow the real work begins. But tonight, I lie in bed next to my wife and listen to her breathing while thinking about mechanical advantage and applied force and how leverage can be used to lift objects that would otherwise be too heavy to move. Like the truth, like justice, like revenge. Murphy's Tavern occupies a converted warehouse on the wrong side of downtown, the kind of establishment where blue-collar workers drink beer that doesn't require sophisticated palates and discuss problems that don't have easy solutions. The interior maintains the honest atmosphere of a place where pretense gets you laughed at and authenticity earns respect. At exactly 2 p.m., I approach the bartender, a woman in her 50s whose arms suggest previous careers involving physical labor, and whose eyes suggest experience with men who have complicated problems. "I'm looking for Sally," I tell her. She nods toward a corner booth where a woman sits alone, nursing a cup of coffee and reading a newspaper with the focused attention of someone who's been waiting for an appointment. Sally appears to be in her early 40s, professionally dressed, but not ostentatiously, with the kind of understated competence that suggests careers in fields where results matter more than appearances. I slide into the booth across from her. "Jonathan Ashford." "Sally Mitchell," she replies, folding the newspaper and studying my face with the analytical attention of someone who's learned to read people accurately. "You look like a man whose world just got turned upside down." "Something like that. You're the one who's been sending me information about my wife's activities. Among other things." She removes a manila folder from her purse and places it on the table between us. "Before we continue, I need to know how serious you are about addressing your situation." "Serious enough to be here." "That's not what I mean. Your wife and her boyfriend aren't just having an affair. They're planning to destroy your life systematically and permanently. The question is whether you're prepared to fight back with equal determination." The folder sits between us like a challenge, its contents promising information that will either empower me or devastate me further. Sally watches my expression, evaluating my readiness for whatever revelations she's prepared to share. "What's your interest in this?" I ask. "David Weston destroyed my marriage 3 years ago, seduced my husband into a business partnership that was actually a sophisticated fraud scheme, then disappeared with our life savings when the FBI started investigating. My ex-husband is serving 7 years in federal prison for crimes David committed using his name and social security number." The explanation settles between us like a contract, establishing mutual interests and shared enemies. Sally Mitchell isn't helping me out of altruism or civic duty. She wants revenge against David Weston, and my situation provides an opportunity to achieve it. "What's in the folder?" She opens it, revealing photographs, documents, and printed emails arranged with the methodical organization of someone who's been building a case for years. Evidence that David Weston has been running the same scam on multiple victims. Your wife isn't his first target, and she won't be his last unless someone stops him. The photographs show David with various women in hotel bars, restaurant booths, and intimate settings that suggest romantic relationships. The documents include financial records, showing suspicious transfers and account openings. The emails reveal communications with divorce attorneys, private investigators, and financial consultants who specialize in asset concealment. He targets married women with successful careers and wealthy husbands, Sally explains, seduces them into affairs, then convinces them to divorce their husbands using attorneys and investigators who are part of his network. The divorce settlements get funneled into investment schemes that David controls, and within 6 months, the money disappears into offshore accounts. I study the evidence, recognizing patterns that match my own situation with disturbing accuracy. Patricia Sinclair, the divorce attorney Melissa contacted, appears in several of the email chains. So do private investigators who specialize in documenting spouses' allegedly abusive behavior and financial consultants who help hide assets during divorce proceedings. How many victims? 17 that I can document. Probably more. The FBI estimates he's stolen over $4 million using variations of this scheme. $4 million. The number represents life savings, retirement accounts, children's college funds, and small business assets stolen from families who trusted their wives and believed their marriages were worth preserving. Why haven't they arrested him? He's careful, uses other people's names, operates through shell companies, keeps himself insulated from direct involvement. The victims usually don't realize they've been defrauded until years later, and by then, the evidence has been destroyed or hidden. Sally removes another document from the folder, a legal brief prepared by federal prosecutors outlining their case against David Weston and his network of accomplices. The charges include fraud, money laundering, identity theft, and racketeering. The evidence includes financial records, recorded conversations, and testimony from victims whose lives were destroyed by his schemes. They need more evidence to make the charges stick, she continues. Specifically, they need documentation of active fraud in progress, with clear evidence of intent and coordination between the conspirators. And you think my situation could provide that evidence? I know it can. Your wife's communications with Patricia Sinclair and David Weston contain explicit discussions of illegal activities. Her plan to hide assets, create false evidence of abuse, and manipulate custody arrangements violates multiple federal statutes. Sally slides a small electronic device across the table, something that looks like a smartphone but with additional features I don't recognize. This records conversations with broadcast-quality audio and uploads everything to secure servers automatically. It's completely legal, as long as you're a party to the conversations being recorded. You want me to wear a wire? I want you to document your wife's conspiracy in her own words. Get her to admit what she's planning, who she's working with, and how they intend to steal your assets. The FBI can use that evidence to arrest the entire network and recover millions of dollars in stolen funds. The device sits on the table between us like a weapon, offering the power to destroy my wife's conspiracy and protect other families from similar destruction. But using it means accepting that my marriage is over and committing to a course of action that will have permanent consequences for everyone involved. What happens to Melissa if I do this? That depends on how deeply she's involved and whether she's willing to cooperate with federal investigators. If she's just another victim being manipulated by David, she might avoid prosecution. If she's an active participant in the fraud scheme, she'll face the same charges as everyone else. I think about the recording device hidden in Melissa's jewelry box, her detailed plans to destroy my reputation and steal my business, her coordination with attorneys and investigators who specialize in fraudulent divorce proceedings. She's not a victim being manipulated. She's an active participant who's been planning my destruction for months. How long do I have to decide? Not long. Patricia Sinclair filed preliminary divorce papers yesterday. Once formal proceedings begin, it becomes much harder to gather evidence without violating court orders and attorney-client privilege. Sally closes the folder and returns it to her purse, but leaves the recording device on the table. I'll be in town for 3 more days. If you decide to help, call the number programmed into that device. If not, destroy it, and pretend this conversation never happened. She stands to leave, then pauses, as if remembering something important. Your wife thinks she's smarter than you. David Weston thinks he's untouchable. Patricia Sinclair thinks federal investigators don't know about her involvement in previous frauds. They're all wrong, but they won't realize it until it's too late. After she leaves, I sit in the booth thinking about evidence and justice and the difference between legal revenge and illegal retaliation. The recording device offers the power to expose their conspiracy and protect other families from similar destruction. But using it means accepting that my marriage is over and committing to a path that leads to federal courtrooms and prison sentences. I pick up the device and examine its features. Professional quality recording equipment disguised as consumer electronics, with encryption capabilities and automatic backup systems that ensure evidence can't be destroyed or suppressed. The kind of sophisticated surveillance technology that federal investigators use to document complex criminal conspiracies. My phone buzzes with a text message from Melissa. Working late tonight, don't wait up. Working late, another girls' night, another hotel appointment with David Weston, and whatever activities require privacy and professional discretion. Another opportunity to document their conspiracy in progress. I pocket the recording device and walk to my truck, thinking about mechanical advantage and applied force and how the right tools can multiply your ability to accomplish tasks that would otherwise be impossible, like gathering evidence, like exposing fraud, like destroying the people who are trying to destroy you. The drive home takes me past the Meridian Grand Hotel, where valet attendants prepare for another evening of expensive cars and expensive people engaging in expensive activities that require discretion and alibis. Tonight, Melissa will meet David Weston for whatever entertainment they've planned. Tonight, they'll discuss their progress in destroying my life and stealing my assets. Tonight, I'll be listening. At home, I find Max in the garage, admiring his completed science project, with the satisfaction of someone whose work demonstrates mastery of complex principles. His pulley system sits on the workbench like a miniature monument to mechanical advantage, every component precisely positioned and properly secured. "Ready for tomorrow's presentation?" I ask. "I think so. The math all checks out, and the construction is solid. Mrs. Rodriguez should be able to see that I understand the underlying concepts." Understanding underlying concepts. The foundation of successful problem solving, whether the problems involve physics or fraud or family destruction. Theory before practice, knowledge before action, evidence before confrontation. "Dad," Max says while packing his project materials, "I've been thinking about what you said yesterday, about gathering evidence before you act." "What about it?" "Sometimes the evidence shows you things you don't want to see, things that change everything you thought you knew about people you trusted." The observation carries weight beyond his years, suggesting that Max has been conducting his own investigation into our family's problems. Like his father, he approaches complex situations with methodical intelligence and draws conclusions based on observable evidence. "That's true," I tell him. "But ignoring evidence doesn't make problems disappear. It just makes them worse." He nods, accepting the wisdom with the serious expression of someone who's learned that adult problems don't always have comfortable solutions. "I guess the truth is more important than being comfortable." The truth, the foundation of justice, the enemy of fraud, the weapon that destroys conspiracies and exposes the people who think they're smarter than everyone else. Tonight, I'll start gathering the truth in Melissa's own words. Tonight, the real work begins. The recording device fits perfectly in my shirt pocket, its presence both weightless and heavy with possibility. Sally Mitchell's technology transforms me from victim to investigator, from target to hunter, from the man being destroyed to the man documenting his own destruction in the words of the people orchestrating it. At 7:43 p.m., Melissa emerges from our bedroom wearing another black dress, this one cut to emphasize assets that belong to our marriage, but are apparently being shared with David Weston's appreciation. Her makeup carries the careful precision of someone preparing for an audience that matters, and her jewelry includes earrings I gave her for our 10th anniversary. "Another girls' night?" I ask from the kitchen table, where I'm reviewing invoices from the auto shop with the focused attention of someone managing a business that provides for his family's needs. "Janet's having relationship problems with Robert," Melissa replies, checking her reflection in the hallway mirror with the critical eye of someone whose appearance requires perfection. She needs to talk through some things. Janet's relationship problems. The same Janet whose marriage to Robert the accountant provides convenient cover for activities that require coordination and alibis. The same Janet whose Honda Civic hasn't been seen in our driveway since Saturday afternoon when she stopped by looking for cookbooks that don't exist. That's too bad. What kind of problems? Melissa pauses, her hand frozen on her purse strap, while she processes a question that requires more detailed fabrication than she's prepared for. Communication issues. You know how it is with marriages sometimes. Communication issues. The irony settles in my chest like a stone dropped into still water, sending ripples through assumptions about honesty and trust and the foundation of successful relationships. "I do know how it is," I agree, activating the recording device with a subtle movement that appears to be adjusting my shirt. "Sometimes people stop talking to each other about important things." "Exactly," Melissa says, her relief evident as she interprets my response as sympathy rather than accusation. "Janet feels like Robert doesn't really listen to her anymore, like he's more interested in his work than their relationship. Robert, the accountant, who coaches Little League baseball and believes his wife spends Friday evenings discussing book club selections with other suburban mothers. Robert, whose marriage is being destroyed by the same conspiracy that's targeting mine, though he doesn't know it yet. Maybe they should try counseling, I suggest. Sometimes an outside perspective helps couples work through communication problems. Janet's not sure Robert would be open to that. He's pretty traditional about handling family problems privately. Traditional. Like believing wives when they say they're having girls' nights. Like trusting that marriage vows mean something. Like assuming the woman you've loved for 15 years isn't planning to destroy your life with the methodical precision of someone who's done this before. Melissa kisses my cheek with lips that taste like guilt disguised as affection, then heads toward the garage where her BMW waits to carry her to whatever appointment requires hotel accommodations and professional discretion. "Don't wait up," she calls back, the same script she's been performing for months. "I won't," I reply, but tonight the words carry different meaning. After her taillights disappear around the corner, I check on Max and Chloe. Max is in his room making final preparations for tomorrow's science project presentation with the methodical attention of someone who understands that success requires proper preparation. Chloe is at Jessica's house, according to the text message she sent an hour ago, studying for a history exam that apparently requires collaborative effort and extended hours. At 8:47 p.m., I drive to the Meridian Grand Hotel. The parking garage provides the same excellent sightlines as before, my truck positioned between concrete pillars that offer concealment while preserving observation angles. The digital camera captures their arrival with high-definition clarity. Melissa's BMW at 9:12, David Weston's Mercedes at 9:18, their coordinated timing suggesting practiced routine. But tonight, I'm not content with surveillance from a distance. Tonight, I need proximity, access to their conversations, documentation of their conspiracy in their own words. The recording device in my pocket offers capabilities that require closer range than parking garage surveillance can provide. I enter the hotel through the main lobby, choosing a seat at the bar that offers sightlines to their usual corner table, while maintaining plausible cover as a customer enjoying an evening drink. The bartender, the same man who served me beer during my first surveillance operation, nods recognition and draws another pint without being asked. At 9:31, Melissa and David appear in the bar entrance. They move toward their corner table with the comfortable familiarity of people who've performed this routine many times before. David's hand rests on Melissa's lower back with possessive confidence, and her smile carries the genuine warmth she hasn't directed toward her husband in months. The recording device captures their conversation with broadcast-quality audio, every word preserved with digital precision that will impress federal investigators and devastate divorce proceedings. They discuss their afternoon plans, their progress in destroying my reputation, and their timeline for completing the theft of my assets. "Patricia says the preliminary filing went through without problems," Melissa reports, her voice carrying the satisfied tone of someone whose carefully laid plans are proceeding as designed. Jonathan doesn't know about it yet, but he'll be served with papers by the end of the week. "What about the business valuation?" David asks, his interest clearly focused on the financial aspects of their conspiracy. The appraiser Patricia recommended should be able to establish a lower value for the auto shop, something about depreciated equipment and declining customer base. Jonathan won't be able to challenge it effectively without his own expert, and he can't afford one. They're planning to steal my business through fraudulent valuation and corrupt appraisers, leaving me with nothing while they divide assets I've spent 15 years building. The recording device documents every detail of their conspiracy, creating evidence that federal prosecutors will find compelling and judges will consider definitive. "And the custody arrangement?" David continues. "Chloe's already on my side. She thinks Jonathan is boring and controlling. Max might be more difficult, but Patricia has strategies for dealing with reluctant children. Strategies for manipulating our son, for turning him against his father, for destroying relationships that should be protected rather than weaponized. The casual cruelty in her voice reveals someone I don't recognize, someone who views our children as assets to be acquired rather than people to be protected. At 10:47, they finish their drinks and move toward the hotel's front desk. I follow at a distance that maintains plausible deniability while preserving audio range. The recording device captures their interaction with the desk clerk, their request for the same room as previous visits, their casual discussion of checkout times and breakfast preferences. Room 412, the clerk confirms, handing David the key cards with professional discretion. Enjoy your stay. Room 412, the same room where anonymous tipsters monitor their activities and send text messages to betrayed husbands. The same room where my marriage dies a little more each time they close the door behind them. But tonight, I don't need to watch from parking garages or rely on anonymous informants. Tonight, I have everything I need to destroy their conspiracy and expose their crimes to federal investigators who've been building cases against David Weston for years. I return to the bar and order another beer, thinking about evidence and justice and the difference between legal revenge and illegal retaliation. The recording device in my pocket contains enough documentation to arrest the entire network and recover millions of dollars in stolen funds. But it also contains evidence that will destroy my marriage permanently and irrevocably, turning whatever love might remain between Melissa and me into legal proceedings and custody battles and asset division hearings. At 11:23 p.m., my phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Check your email, time sensitive. I open my email program and find a message from Truth-Teller 2024. Federal agents are moving faster than expected. David Weston will be arrested within 72 hours. Suggest accelerating your timeline. 72 hours. 3 days to gather whatever additional evidence I need, to prepare for the destruction of their conspiracy, to protect my children from the fallout when their mother's crimes become public knowledge. 3 days to decide whether I want justice or revenge, whether I want to expose their crimes or simply destroy their lives, whether I want to be the victim who cooperated with federal investigators or the husband who took matters into his own hands. I finish my beer and drive home through streets that look different now, familiar landmarks transformed by the knowledge that everything I thought I knew about my life was carefully constructed fiction. The house sits dark except for Max's bedroom window, where blue light flickers against glass like a digital campfire marking the last refuge of innocence in our family. Inside, I upload the evening's recordings to the secure servers Sally Mitchell provided, creating backup copies that federal investigators can access if anything happens to the original evidence. The audio quality exceeds expectations, every word crystal clear, every detail preserved with digital precision. But listening to the recordings again, hearing Melissa discuss our children like assets to be acquired and our marriage like a business to be liquidated, I realize that evidence and justice and legal revenge might not be enough. Some problems require more direct solutions. Some conspiracies require more personal responses. Some betrayals demand consequences that federal prosecutors can't provide and divorce courts won't deliver. At 2:34 a.m., Melissa returns home with the careful precision of someone navigating familiar territory in an altered state. Her key turns in the lock with practiced silence, and her heels click across hardwood floors with the measured rhythm of someone trying not to wake a household that might ask questions about extended girls' nights and hotel accommodations. She appears in the kitchen doorway, her black dress wrinkled in ways that tell stories about horizontal activities, her makeup carefully repaired but not quite perfect, her hair carrying the disheveled elegance of someone who's been enthusiastically appreciated. "You're still up," she says, her voice carrying the artificial brightness of someone performing normalcy while managing more complex realities. "Couldn't sleep," I reply, not looking up from the engine parts spread across the kitchen table. "How's Janet doing with her relationship problems?" A pause, brief but noticeable, while she processes the question and constructs whatever narrative she's prepared for this moment. Better, I think. Sometimes talking through problems with friends helps put things in perspective. Perspective. The word hangs in the air between us like a challenge, suggesting that some viewpoints are more accurate than others and some truths are more important than comfortable lies. That's good, I say, finally looking up to meet her eyes. Communication is important in relationships. Honesty, too. She nods, but her expression carries the alert attention of someone monitoring conversations for hidden meanings. Absolutely. I'm going to shower and go to bed. Try not to stay up too much longer. After she disappears upstairs, I sit in the kitchen thinking about evidence and confrontation and the difference between what people say and what they actually do. The recording device in my pocket contains enough documentation to destroy their conspiracy and expose their crimes, but it also contains something more valuable. The truth about who my wife really is, what she's capable of, and how far she's willing to go to get what she wants. Tomorrow, I'll decide what to do with that truth. Tomorrow, the real confrontation begins. But tonight, I listen to the sound of running water upstairs and think about mechanical advantage and applied force and how the right leverage can move objects that seem impossible to lift. Like justice. Like revenge. Like the complete and total destruction of people who think they're smarter than the man they underestimated.